Hey there, welcome to the Oz Shift Podcast. Today's guest is an individual who's got a cool book out, and we're going to talk about what the book is and how it impacts. But here's the thing. The guy has a crazy story of life, man. He lost his father to an accident at 7 years old, and he went through this interesting journey of just, himself and then navigating business to the extent of making hundreds of millions of dollars in businesses, exiting many businesses, the ups and downs of it. But what's cool is he did it in a way where not many people do. Like, they still stay attached to their heart, or they find their heart at least. And I felt like I had a good kindred connection with this guy in a couple areas of, one, navigating hardship, but two, having success and navigating what it means to have success with kids, how to pass that on properly, how to make sure you're focused on what's important in life. And so you're really going to enjoy this episode, I believe. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think you're going to not only just be able to take some great life lessons from it, but also take away some insights on how you should look at running a business or having some success, or what success might even mean to you, because for everybody it's different, and that's also okay. So that's it. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Hello and back to the show. We have a person on I'm excited to talk to. We had a good conversation before we dive in, which is always a good marker of it's going to be a good convo for you to hang out and listen to. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jeremy Delk. How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. He's actually a trooper, man. Yesterday, you guys don't know this, but yesterday when recording this, I got on my internet, decided to take a vacation. And so he was graciously able to move it to the next day, which I thank him for. And then today he has his old camera guy out. So, the universe didn't want it to happen, but sometimes, God wins. And so we move forward, make some things happen. So today we're going to dive into the convo, and you guys are listening to know this, but Jeremy doesn't know. This is always the first question. So Jeremy, first question. Say I'm walking around town. I'm in Kentucky where you live. I go down to this coffee shop. I see this cool guy sitting next to me. He's you. I don't know you. You don't know me. But for some reason, you feel compelled to start talking to me. In your opinion, why should I listen to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Why should you listen to me? I think the way I'm 43. We talked a little bit, before we got started about age. I think the 43-year-old me would be a different answer than the 20-year-old me, right? I would say the 20-year-old me would say that I'm the smartest guy ever, and you should really listen to me. I'm really cool.
I'm dope. Yeah,
it's just so cool, bro. The 43-year-old me is like, man, I just come from more of a place of this level of authenticity. I know that gets played out a bunch, but just right, hey, this is who I am. And I had this genuine curiosity. That's why it helped me in business so much. But I have a curiosity with people, and I love learning, and I really love helping, right? And I think that's the biggest piece. So I think you should listen to me, because I'm going to come from the right place. I'm not going to try and sell you, pitch you something I'm just going to be genuinely curious, like, hey man, why are you doing a latte and not an espresso, right? That's probably what I open with.
I get it. I'm a tea guy, man. I don't drink coffee. I never had a cup of coffee in my life. I hear it's good though. My wife's a fan. She's got all these crazy. We have two Keurigs. One's for tea and one's for coffee. So one makes hot water, one makes coffee. But I like the idea of the curiosity. I think that there's something to that. And almost all people I find that are great business owners, or honestly just people that are like entrepreneurial, there's some curiosity that was at some point instilled in them, or they chase this little journey. And I think the curiosity goes to passion. Passion leads us to purpose in time. Where was that curiosity, I guess, developed in you? Was it always present as a kid? Like, did it just all of a sudden you got this first thing that made you excited about? Like, where did that build up to the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think naivete probably is like the lead in, right? Just being this young kid. So I'm from Bardstown, Kentucky, which is like a super small town. It's the bourbon capital of the world. Kind of like 25, 30,000 people. And that's where I grew up. And I grew up with this, pretty stable, mom, stepdad, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about that in a second.
Yeah.
But I always had this yearning. I felt kind of big fish, small pond. And I always wanted to kind of go and do more, see more, and be more. So I wanted to get out of that small environment. Loved it. It was popular, girls, all the cool things that they had in high school, but I just thought there was so much more out there. So I always wanted to be like in New York City or some big place like that. So I think I was that dreamer. I think it came from, not just get a complete downer here, right? But my dad passed away when I was 7 in a tragic motorbike accident. And that really fucked me up, I think, for just, it's a 7-year-old, right? And I had a younger brother, but it's the death and loss is one thing that I think everyone has experienced. Someone is passing, right?
Yeah.
parent, grandparent,
Mhm.
friend, whatever.
Yeah,
So we've
yeah.
all experienced loss. I'm not unique in that piece, but we went from a place of relatively massive stability, right? And this is as a
Mhm.
7-year-old. So you have like food, water, Christmas present on the tree, like,
Yeah.
nuclear
Yeah.
component to a massive level of an instability, right? Mom, now a single mom, young mom, two small kids, right?
Yeah.
And that level of instability scared you, right? It scared anybody, but especially a 7-year-old kid. And I think that's what gave me a lot of my drive and motivation, is I didn't have a choice but to kind of grow up quick.
Yeah.
Um, and as bad as it is, I think it shaped me and made me who the man I am. So on
I
one
hear
side you're
you.
sad, on one side you're grateful for what that kind of pushed you to be able to
Be
become.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, I think that's it. So it's a mix between the drive and motivation to kind of never ever have that instability again because it
Yeah.
sucked, right? So you want to have that thing, and that was a resource driven thing for the most part.
Mhm.
Um, and then when you go out, this young kid, and just make a lot of mistakes, be successful, have failures, you have that, you start to get addicted to like, well, wow, I didn't know anything about this. I learned,
Yeah.
curious, listen, and then
Mhm.
subject matter expert or got lucky or whatever it is, you get addicted to that that curiosity, right? And that's
Yeah.
the fun part for me.
I get it. I totally get it. I think that I can relate on a lot of levels there, man. I was given away as a kid at 3 years old, so I had my own fun journey. I get a
Yeah.
painting on the wall over here. I got very specific painting, only one in the room, and it says "Smooth seas never made skilled sailors." And so, like you, like I don't like that it happened, but I can appreciate the things that happened that made it all hard. Because then you do you
Yeah.
start realizing that I think the addiction to it's like I don't want kids like an addiction to the game or anything, but I like the feeling of knowing I accomplished something or I'm good at something. And I think all humans we like to do things that we're good at,
Yeah.
whether it's somebody cheering us on or I get that high. And then I think I'm hearing through you is over the years, a 20-year-old is different from the 43-year-old, right? But at 43, you go, man, not only I enjoy doing this, but I enjoy seeing other people do it. You got to pass it on through teaching or coaching or books. Like we'll talk about more in a little bit here. And I like that kind of that journey and progression. So let's say I was listening to you. What is the thing that would be the area you want to talk about? Right. So you start talking to me. I see why I should listen to you. What would be your desired topic of conversation?
So, and this happens with business or personal, because I see it every day. I would just want to know kind of, who are you? Tell me about you and
Yeah.
what's your dreams, personal life, business, whatever it is. Where do you want to kind of go and do? And then no matter what, it's the best opening question, because someone's going to tell you something. I want to have more
Yeah.
kids. I want to start my company. They're always going to have something.
Mhm.
And then I always just kind of follow up. Well, what are you doing? Right. Well, what steps have you taken? And more than not, and you can tell entrepreneurs versus entrepreneurs or people that just
Yeah.
don't go, oh, you either get a list of actions, which is usually very few,
Mhm.
or you get a list of excuses of why you haven't made that first step.
Yeah.
And that's what I would spend my time talking about, is challenging and breaking down those, you know, barriers
Yeah.
of the why, because they're mostly, I don't want to say always, bullshit, right?
Yeah. No, they
They're
usually
they're
are.
self-inflicted, because like
Yeah.
you're in your own way.
Yep.
9 out of 10 times you are in your own way. You're not
Mhm.
starting because of this. No, there's no outside component. It's our,
Yeah. You're accepting the
internal
excuse.
component to try and, feel a fear of failure. It's like,
Mhm.
what other people are going to think about you? It's all these other thoughts
Yeah.
that aren't real, but
Yep.
you're putting them in your way and putting your own roadblocks up.
I think we all have experience with that too. And it's not always fun for you to hear that that's you at the moment. But there's this guy named Gay Hendricks, and he has a cool statement. He says, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. And I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed that statement because there is a lot of people, they'll get to a situation where they go, I want this. And I go, okay, great. Well, how did you have? Oh, well, I grew up like this, or I don't have this, or last month this took place. And that's great. But if the excuse gets bigger than the dream, then you might as well just let the dream die.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
there's going to be excuse. There's always going to be something you can create and allow it to sit in that pedestal above. But my kids, like I got three. I don't know if you have any kids. My oldest, he's a track guy, and at one point in time, like he's actually at University of Oregon. Actually, right now they're at the NCAA national meet. He's not running in it, but he's an alternate. And the things I told him years ago, I was like, dude, like you're saying you want to be in this Division I school, but you're sitting around the house all day. Do you think the kid that has that? Oh, but Dad, this happened, this happened. I go, look, one of two things: either you get into your head what it takes to accomplish that dream, or you get the dream out of your head. And
yeah.
I consistently dig this into my kids. But it's funny, it's like that's kids, but there are grown men and women with the exact same thing walking around each day. How do you help somebody navigate through? Like maybe it's not your realm of expertise, but if you're having a conversation, what do you typically approach conversationally in that of like how to help somebody navigate past those roadblocks, barriers, self-inflicted excuses?
Yeah, and it's just by asking the same, a couple questions a bit deeper, right? So the first component is, let's say the guy or girl wants to start a new business. Um, okay, what's the business? What's the idea? I don't care. I've been in every industry, not every, but I've been relatively successful in a bunch of different industries, from real estate
Mhm.
development, building materials, epigenetics, biological age, HRT, pharmacies, drugs, So I've been in enough, and I don't know any about any of these things, but
Yeah.
I learned along the way. So
Mhm.
industry agnostic. I really tried to get into the why. Like, well, because before you can kind of help someone get out of their own way, they really have to make sure that they're doing it for the right reason, right? So, well, I want to start a company because I want to be a millionaire. Fucking, that's not a good reason. Well, why? Well, because I want financial freedom. Oh, maybe we're getting somewhere, but why, right? And you need to really kind of just drill down into that piece, and it annoys the hell out of people.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
why do you want to do it? Why do you want to do coaching? Well, because it's my calling, it's my impact. Like, bullshit. Like, why do you want to do it, right?
Mhm.
And then once you get to that piece of my good product or service, if I don't, if you're obsessive over it, if I don't do this, I'm hurting people,
Yeah.
right? It's my
Yeah.
if you don't have that mentality, or
Mhm.
if I don't do this, I'm not going to have this, because I want to work to have freedom so I can be with my kids at every event, every track meet, every birthday, all those things. Like, you have to get down to that visceral component to where you feel it, and you feel like anxiety, like almost a bit of grit in your stomach,
Yeah.
that if you don't get it, that's your true why. Not,
Yeah.
oh, I want to buy a boat, a car, a house, all that stuff. I've tried it. I bought a bunch of shit. You can't buy happiness, man. You can buy a lot of cool things. Life's hard without money. It's
Yeah.
hard with money. It's impossible without it. So,
Mhm.
but you have to understand what you're doing it for, right?
Yeah.
Buy a car because you really love that, you enjoy it. And I love taking my son on rides, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's what I love, those experiences. I drive down the road in my old Mustang. Like, he's gonna remember that shit when he's fucking 100, right? So
Yeah.
that's my why. It's
Yeah.
cool. I like the cars, but you really have to get down to that core piece. And then if you can get there, because sometimes you can't, and they should just stay at a job and be an employee. And that's okay. Like, be happy. But what is your why of what you want to do? Whether it's a good father, mother, employee, employer, whatever that is, if
Yeah.
you can get them to that component, that's why they know, then you anchor into, so now what's stopping you?
Mhm.
Oh, well, it might be what someone's saying. Who the fuck cares what someone else thinks, right?
Mhm.
Is what this person thinks more valuable than that feeling I just got you to feel? So, right. So you have to start there. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So you can't
That's
just
good.
say, this is the motivation. You got to make them feel it, or get to it. And they may not get that feeling. Well, then that's not what they want to do. So find out what it is. Like, what is your calling? I want to do this for this.
Yeah.
Once you have that passion, it's hard to, it's hard to get
Yeah,
to,
do it.
but once you get to it, it's impossible to stop.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, as I listen to you, my whole job on this side, I think, is I'm always wanting to listen to the ears of the person who's hearing it. And I get like goosebumps. I'm like, I know the feeling. Like I had a dream. I wanted at some point to start sharing my message. Why? Because I enjoyed the feeling of me giving it out. I felt good, like it was cathartic to do so. But then I love people saying thank you. And growing up in foster care, my own mom didn't want me, but the foster family didn't care for me. Like nobody wanted Anthony. So to feel wanted was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And still have that as a human. And I go, the only way to really get the good desire is like to give a whole lot. When I give a lot, people go, thank you so much. I go, I like that. Whatever that is, I want more of that. So I started doing that. And then that's progressed into something that's unique. But I had like certain points, my own wife, my own best friend, like literally was like, this is a stupid job. You don't go talk on stages. And now I get paid 25,000 a keynote. I get to, go and consult for companies like Amazon. Like he's like, dude, like this is 10 years later. I bought my wife a 66 Mustang last Christmas. And it was like a moment in time where he goes, bro, you really actually like you did this. He's like, I don't know what happened. He's like, but you have a whole career that you built out of your own. It's like, kudos to you, man. But it is. You have to find something that's worth you going against the grain of the people who loved you most at times.
Yeah. And your boy, probably, it's not like he's not your boy, and he's
He
not
loves me.
he's not trying to get you successful, but it's usually when they say shit, it's their fears. It's they're projecting their shit on you.
Yeah.
And again, right, like, my mom loves me. So it has nothing to do with the love, but it's what their ability to help you is, right? If I'm trying to do a deal downtown, like convertible from office to residential, it's a cool thing. It's happening elsewhere, but not in Kentucky.
Yeah.
That's hard. I can't call my mom. What am I going to say? Well, I don't know, honey. Right. Well, I mean, it's like, it's
right.
good. My mom
Yeah,
loves me.
right,
She's going to
yeah.
help me, but you got to go to the well and understand the lens that someone's looking in at you. And it's with love, but it still may not be the right advice. Right. So just be conscious of that.
Yeah, and I think it has less to do with, because there are times you start thinking like, man, these people, like, they don't love me. It's like, no, they love you. But it's always, my wife is just, love my wife. She's awesome. She's her own multi-million-dollar business, does her own thing. But there was a moment in time we were out the track, and I realized how this happens with people that love you. It's like we're running, and I'm, getting older. She's like, hey, slow down, like, because she's out there doing her track thing. I'm trying to keep up with her and do her thing. She's like, hey, this next one, I know it's hard. Just, it's okay. Slow down. You don't want to get hurt. And I go, that's the complete opposite of what I need. Like, I love you, but I need you to tell me, like, get after it, fat ass. Like, I need you to, whatever it is, because I'm not out of shape and fat, but like, I'm not at your speed. So as opposed to like telling me like, it's okay to play small, I'm like, no, push me a little bit. Like, I don't mind. I can handle it, But that's what people do. I think they see you and they don't want you to struggle. I don't want you to. But then what happens is eventually people get to be 40 through like your age, 50 years old, and no one pushed them. And so that struggle is one that they have to endure and honestly regret for their life, going, man, I was so close. I knew Jeremy and I saw what he was doing. Because I'm sure you have people that at some point started with you in the same pocket, but aren't where you're at now. And they may notice you and see you, but they have a certain probably level of regret of like, damn, I didn't do that. And they have that for an enduring lifetime now. And I don't want to be that guy at some point.
Yeah. I mean, you have like, they both suck. You can live with discipline or live with regret. Right.
Yeah.
Both are hard. Yeah, they are. But but you're going to live with one of them. Right. And it's so simple. I see it all the time, and that's okay. It's those people's journeys. Right. I think that's the piece that, I'm on. I don't know how to post like my name on social media, but I've got a team that helps me do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to be on it for the stuff that we do, and so you have to do it. But I hate it really because
I'm the same.
Dude, you're like, like half, like a good part of my life, like whether like private, all these things, like I don't post that stuff. I post podcasts, I post things because there's so many of these people that are fake, inspirational, but the problem is that people are so impressionable.
Yeah.
So impressionable. And they want to compare themselves. What's Anthony doing? Well, I need to be like, fuck Anthony. No disrespect, but like, what do I want? What's important to me? Because what's important to me and my family should be all that matters. What I'm striving for should be all that matters. But so many times you're comparing yourself to, keep up with the Joneses and kind of going through that piece. And it's just so sad because most of the people that are doing all that stuff and doing that posting are really not happy, man. And that's what's bad. So you're trying to emulate someone who inside doesn't really love themselves. Right. So that's where I kind of, really kind of, share a lot and try to talk through, like, get happy with yourself. Right. And go through it. Right. I mean, we talked yesterday in 2 seconds. I know you're a great father because you were talking about that, but it opened up with like the lesson you were giving your, I don't know which son it was that overstep. Like, that's what you led with, not like anything else, but, and then like, that internet stuff, but that's good. Why are you such a good father? I guarantee you there's some shit there about fucking being given up at 3. Yeah. Guarantee it. So you either could have taken path A of like, I'm a victim, nobody loves me, oh, fuck the world, whatever. You could have done that and then repeated the cycle. Or this didn't happen to me, this happened for me. Let me go through and just overcorrect and be this phenomenal, strong husband, strong partner, father, all those things. And now I'm teaching my kids lessons that someone didn't have a chance to teach you.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? There's a lot of people, probably more than the path that you chose, took the other path. Because that other path's much easier. Man, it's so easy to be a victim, bro. You can tell yourself anything, right? This happened to me. Woe was me. I mean, being a victim, bro, is really easy. At least in this country, we really, that's a bigger flock, the victim flock, than the people like, fuck this, make me harder and kind of go through and like, I mean, I made my success because, I didn't have I had no failure wasn't an option. Like, and while I talk about failure as a positive thing, me not making it work wasn't an option. I had no safety net, right? Which thankfully was probably the best thing because I had to work harder and smarter and kind of figure it out. Yeah. So it's the same.
What's the same pieces. Actually, you find, like, I like the idea of this. I don't know where it came from years ago, but somebody said, and I go, I like this feeling. I go, there's certain people that can step up and face problems because they know they bring them to the problems. And like, I'm all for that. And I think there is part of it, like 100% the childhood stuff, it ties in. Because I Like if you look at statistics in foster care, any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids like me. Half the
Really?
homeless population, yeah, 3 or 4 have spent time in foster care. Half the homeless population, because we turn 18 and we age out, so the families don't get a paycheck for us. They usually kick us out of the house. And I think less than 1% of us ever graduate from college. So statistically, I beat a lot of these odds.
Jeez.
It's nuts, right? There's a whole
That's
lot
crazy.
more too, in terms of like depression and PTSD. Like we get a lot of it. And for some reason, I wouldn't say I'm normal because I do abnormal things, but I'm
Mhm.
even keeled and I'm centered. Like I'm very anchored. I'm rooted, but a lot of it comes from that. Like I've always found that when I face a problem, I'm like, well, it can't get as bad as that, right? Like,
No, right. Yeah, exactly.
so if
Yeah.
I've already dealt with the craziness, like let's go to work. And so you lean in. But what's cool is the more you lean into things, the more you find out what you're capable of. The more you find out what you're
Right.
capable of, the more you push ahead. And I think that's what you said earlier, get the addiction to it. I get the addiction to see what I can do. It's like there's something for me, like I think about the psychology of humans. We are happiest in motion. Like when we're making a puzzle, right? The puzzle's fun, but when the last piece goes in, I'm like, oh, all right, now what? Like, give me another
Right.
puzzle. Because the joy was in the process of the puzzle. And some people sit back and all they think about is when the puzzle's done. They don't realize that it's not about when the puzzle's done. It's about doing the puzzle and enjoying that and mastering that and having fun. And it's hard sometimes, but the journey to all of it becomes, like you said, it's your own process, your own journey, your own struggle to do so. And I think, yeah, most people that I find to run into, they are enamored by like what it looks like. I saw a video today of a guy, been following him probably a lot of years. And I don't know where the video popped in my feed. He's talking about, yeah, I was doing this and doing a show and it looked like it was great on the screen. But then he's like, behind the scenes, I hated my life. My marriage was messed up. I was burning through money. I hated the trip. And I go, how incongruent, man. Because I'm like you. I almost never post things. Like I do videos. I do 5 videos a week. They're 7 minutes. I give them my team and I'm like, I don't post stuff. Like I probably should.
Right.
But I have a love for my life. And so I don't have to be on there to get the joy. I forget to go
No.
on there to post.
Yeah.
Not that it's good or bad, but it is something that I think you're leaning into. I think something I'm finding it as a normalcy for most successful people I knew. I know that they don't hate social, but it's just not the lead point of their life.
Yeah. And again, I'm coming to you from a place of like, I'm not that smart. This is coming from probably $250,000 and several years of laying on a couch with a therapist. I mean, you got to go through some stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I made a bunch of bad mistakes. Personally, I think, right. With like, I had a failed marriage. I think I do have kids. I got a 9 and a 4-year-old, but I've got a beautiful wife now and like happy. So like you have to understand why you're doing these things, right? I had a self-destructive behavior. It's just because, and there's a lot of reasons for that because fear of abandonment issues and it's called anxious attachment. So you lost you were given up. That I was left, right? In my mind as a kid. So you really have to do a deep dive into understanding why you're wired that way. And it fucking is hard, dude. It's hard. Like writing this book. I mean, I've built some pretty big businesses, Eat 500, big exits, public companies, private. I've done some stuff. That wasn't easy. Dude, this book, man, it was like, because I started it and it started off as a business book and, great success, great tips, great, all these things. And then I just threw it away. And publisher's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, dude? It's like really good. I'm like, man, it's a lie. They're like, what do you mean? Like you provided documentation that all these things happened. I'm like, yeah, but you're only looking at one side of it. Right. And I think business is so personal. And if I didn't share the personal side of it, I wouldn't have put it out. Right. So that was so it's hard of like, yeah, I did this, but while I was doing this, I wasn't a great husband. And I made these bad decisions. I just threw it all out there. Right. And was overly, vulnerable, but I've gotten more comments and like you joke, like you write a book, like the only person I think reads it's my mom. But I saw someone at a funeral, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, and like, dude, loved your book. Like, you actually read it, right? But like you forget that it goes out there, and so many people read it. It was like a Forbes top 3 book or something. Yeah. But it's not like, dude, the tactic you did when you bought that company back and took it private. That's like 1 in 100 comments that I get. It's like, dude, what you shared about your dad, what you shared about this, or how you came over to be more present with your kid. Like those are the things that like touch people, and they apply whether you're hard charging CEO, crazy guy like you and I, or, you're a stay-at-home dad, stay-at-home mom, and just, wanting to be a better person. Right. Yeah. And hopefully I encourage people to do that work, to kind of understand yourself, because we all have an origin story.
We do.
But we all tend to tell ourselves the version of the story that we like, that's easier. And because it's much more comfortable. But if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable and really do that work, you get down to, just like that said, that visceral feeling of like why you're doing your business, why you want to do what you want to do, right? Like I probably, I'll tell you, like, get to a therapy session, but I put so much on my back because my dad was like the patriarch of our family and like kind of a provider, took everyone care of. So I put on my back at 7.
Yeah.
That I had to be that for my entire family, right? So like that's the level of sickness that you go. So like there's never going to be another enough number, right? That you kind of go through, but you want to be like, hey, if I get here, there's always another here that everyone will be taken care of, right? Yeah. And that's that kind of motivation. But that's the visceral piece. It's not like because I want to go, fly private to St. Bart's. That's not the piece that you. Yeah, it's cool, and you do that because you can get to places with your family quicker, and it saves time. But it's not a flex. It's the flex is like your mom's good, right? You flex is like that's the stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. I get it, man. We have some interesting kindred experiences here. I don't know how much you know about me or my story either. I'm realizing you may not know anything. But like I went through some of the same stuff. I got done with the NFL, came home, had 3 kids with my high school sweetheart, and got married. And then, we got divorced. She had an affair, got divorced. Life fell apart. A lot of it was because I was gone all day building my business. I was gone 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. She had 4-year-old newborn twins. You're in that space where it's like, you're horrible. How could you do this? And in hindsight, I go, I was a horrible husband, man. I'm surprised she stuck around as long as she did with these kids at the house and me gone. Not even being successful, And fast forward 3 years and a lot of work and a lot of tears as a grown man and ownership of stuff and like taking a look at myself. To where like now we're remarried. We're almost 7 years deep in a remarriage. And it's the
way. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the most, like we were just talking, like it's the most peaceful 7 years of my entire life. I had the most peaceful and anchored, but it's only because we faced these things, I owned up to what it was, took a look at it. But so what I'm like, I look at success and the money we make and where we get to go, like we're going to Japan in 4 days, we're taking off and taking mother-in-law on a trip to go out there just with the kids. And it's like, that's what it's about, and I don't care about where we stay. I'm like, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be together on Mount Fuji, like that's the thing that matters. And again, it's not a flex, but I think what you do, like when you've got to a point beyond the hardship, I'm in constant juxtaposition of gratitude of what it could be. There's this constant place of peace, and that drives me to maintain my peace. You ever have the feeling, which I don't know, this is just like we'll call it a deeper part of me, I'm almost worried about it getting so good because I might lose it. You ever have that happen? Like it's like it gets so good, and I'm like, do I want to slow down because it's gonna hurt to lose it? But I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I gotta lean in, but I'm worried about losing it because it's so stinking good.
So kind of, I got well, I lived in, so I ended up we're not going to get into all the crazy twists and turns, but I ended up in New York. I was on Wall Street. I did some things. So my childhood dream came true. And then I went out on my own. But when I moved back to Kentucky, I was so like viscerally scared about moving back home to Kentucky.
Why?
Because I had New York City, if you've ever spent some time there, worked there, whatever, dude, it's just an energy, right? And I just like, you land, my boys are still there, but I just got this energy, and I thought like I got this edge. I'm successful. I got this drive, and I saw, like, to your point, like a bunch of my boys at home, they just didn't ever, spread their wings at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what happens if I come back there? So that was a fear, and obviously that was 10 years, 12 years ago, so that didn't happen. But then the other piece, I like to build things, but I like to break things because I love fixing whatever. So that took a long time for me to kind of go through. Is like, dude, you just need to like build it up, sell it, and then like let the adults run shit. Because if left into my own devices, I'll just start breaking stuff. So so I don't know that I fear that I lose it. What I struggle with the most, and I ask every successful entrepreneur, every successful person, entrepreneur, just executive, whatever that I know, what I really struggle with is how not to fuck up my kids, because they're growing, and I'm sure yours are too, right? Well, I know yours are, right? Hell, foster parents with the nuclear family that you got, right?
Yeah.
They're growing up in just a total different environment.
Yep.
Dude, you didn't go to Mount Fuji when you were a kid, I guarantee you, right? So like, period, you weren't in Japan, right? Like whether you're staying there in a hostel or a glamping thing down on the top, wherever you're at. So it's those experiences that you would not trade for the world, because there's a stat, you only get, I think, 14, 15 summers, right? If you think about it, like with these kids, you get 14, 15 summers.
They're gone.
First couple of years, they don't even remember it.
Yeah.
17, 18, they're out anyway. So that's all you have. And you break life into that. That's all you. So you want to cram as much stuff into those. And my kids are seeing a lot more. I didn't know what a private plane was. They, first class. I mean, they've seen things that I didn't see. So my biggest fear, I don't want to raise little assholes.
Yeah.
This level of entitlement. So I try to go through, like, I'll take my kid to one of my warehouses, like, bro, you're sweeping today. And he's 9, right? Probably get in trouble for child labor laws at this point. But like, I want to be like, you see, and I see this, like, I put my kids down. I read them books and stories and stuff. And then they'll always see me on my laptop. Right. And I like that they see me with my laptop. They see me back, like, I actually asked my son, Graham, like, what do you think dad's doing with his laptop? He's like, you're working. They see me working. They see me always all that component. And that's a good thing. I'm like, you think someone's telling daddy what to do, right? You think someone's telling dad, oh, you got to punch in these numbers, punch a clock? No.
For 2 weeks off.
But this is, what, determination. This is what, hard work and perseverance. That's what, these are things that you either instill in yourself, that you get, you have good habits or bad habits, but everyone has habits, right? And if you have that drive and that motivation, that's where you want to do, or you enjoy it and you find something that you really love. And that's what I kind of, I talk to. So my biggest fear isn't losing it. Cause I think I've hopefully gotten close to where I need. Well, I'm never going to be there, but I feel pretty good. Yeah. My biggest fear is messing up my kids. And that's what I really kind of stay focused on. And also, you have a girl too, or just boys?
I got twins. I got a boy and a girl daughter, and then I have an oldest son.
Okay, cool. Is your daughter, so the daughter's youngest?
That will twins.
Daughter's older.
13. They're 14, but a boy and a girl for the twins, and the oldest was the 18-year-old son. So yeah, I got a little bit of everything.
We're hopefully working on a couple more, but we've my youngest daughter, man, she's me. Like I'm so scared. Like it's bad. She's 4 going on 24. I'm screwed. Yeah. That's what I'm worried about losing her. I'll be broke by her. But but my son, I love, but he's not going to be me. He's not going to, he's a sweet kid, loving, creative. He's got some dyslexia. I mean, but he's such a good kid. I mean, just such a good boy. But he's not going to be me. And that's okay. But it's okay once you get okay with it, right? And for like, you're going to take over Delk Enterprises. It's 20 years. I was to be 40 years old. I'm like, it's not going to be him. Maybe my daughter takes it over, but that's for guys. Once you kind of understand what this game's about, life. I do all the stuff I do because I'm sick and I love it. Right.
I get it.
We're certain sick. That's because I love it. If my son wants to, write poetry, go whatever he wants to do, like, as long as they're happy, that's the win.
I agree.
That's the win. Period.
It's especially heavy in my world, like a football guy, right? I'm an NFL guy. So you go, oh, boys, what's going to play football? When's he going to start football? It's like, I don't know. My youngest son, he's not a football guy. Like, he was a guy that was, he'd be on the team and I was coaching him, but like, he wasn't good enough to start. So like, I didn't start him. I'm like, this kid's better. I'm not playing daddy ball, son. And he eventually didn't like the physicality. And then his freshman year of high school, he played at a really good school called De La Salle out here. It's fairly known for its football prominence. And afterwards, he goes, Dad, I don't want to play football. Okay, it's cool, whatever you want to do. And he went and did track, and now he's got a partial scholarship running track at the University of Oregon, where he was born, actually, when my wife and I went there. And so it's like that journey of like being okay, pulling the reins off. My youngest son, he wants to play football. But even with him, I tell him, like, this ain't going to be, like, we had the conversation yesterday. This ain't going to be my dream. I did my dream, dude. The reason the issue yesterday is he's supposed to get up at 45 to be somewhere by 9, and he didn't get up. And my wife's like, wake him up. I'm like, no, I'm not waking him up. I'm not going to have him. I'm not going to lead his dream, right? Because it's got to be his. But I think the same thing for me is settled in at this point of like two things. Like you said, one, I don't want to mess him up. Because partially I think there is something to giving them too much without enough hardship because they don't appreciate it. So my kids,
the picture you said on your wall, right? What'd you say? Easy C's make it better. That's life, man.
That is. I can't rob them of their hardship. I think too many parents rob their kids of their hardships. I'm not built that way. My son got picked on one day after school. My wife, she zips down in the car and like pushes the kid down, like protects her. So I'm like, never do that again. It's like, what do you mean? I was like, you can't do that for him. One day he's going to have a wife and this woman that's amazing, and someone's going to poke, and then she's going to notice that this guy can't protect my family. So he's going to lose the woman he loves because he didn't learn the lesson because mom saved him. These little things extrapolate out. So it's tough because I got to subject them to it without also at the same time robbing them of Mount Fuji. And that's a delicate balance, and it does suck. I don't have the answers. I'm trying to figure it out myself, dude.
That's it. I've asked hundreds of people and no one has the answer. And the thing is, you can't solve for it, right? No. They're going to be who they are, right? nature and nurture, they are going to be who they are. But if you can give them those lessons and guides and give them the why, I talk to my kids like adults, right? Like, this is why daddy does this. This is why this is the understanding, right? Like, even my previous marriage, like I took ownership. Like, this was dad's, dad did this. This is like, so you have to own it, because like, they're going to figure this shit out, bro. So you trying to attempt that you're not, just own it, man. Like, and then but that's the most gratifying, like, weight off your shoulders. Like, people that, they talk about on social, like, this flex, like, dude, that's gotta be such a shitty life. I know you're miserable, but you have 2 lives. Like, I curse, I do this, but like, I'm a pretty loyal guy until you cross me. Yeah. I got a big heart, and I'll give you the shirt off my back. And like, I'm a fun guy to hang around with. That's who I am. And if you love me, I love you. Cool. Don't love the small world, big world. Like, it's okay. Once you come to that level of confidence, dude, life's easy, right? I mean, even like, you got people who are in your tribe, who are in your, like, that's what it's about, man.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. We're talking the same language, bro. I could have a beer with you. That sounds good. I'm in the same wavelength. I think you do get to a certain point in time and just went through enough of it, and it's like all the things you were chasing because you saw it as this, get to it and you get this accomplishment. You go, it's fun, it's great, but like, no one wants to be celebrated. I think Drake has a line as, nobody wants to be 70 and alone. It's like all these things are fun. You can accomplish a lot, but if you have no one to turn to the right to or turn to the left and go, man, I'm celebrating this with you, like, it sucks. And I think there is also a side caveat back to what you're saying. I do want my kids to see me like doing this. Like, my kids constantly watch me. They come in and out of the house, and they're going to different areas and seeing me in the studio and doing my stuff. Because I always find that individuals who come from all blue collar, it's always like, I'm working real hard so my kids can do whatever they want. But all the kids see is you working real hard so a kid can do whatever they want. But like, you're not doing what you want. You complain about the job. And so all the kid knows is do that for their own kids. And they'll, so the same thing is an example to their own kids. And I go, I want my kids to see. And my son works for my wife's business because he can when he comes home for the summer. And like, that's a necessity. I think they need to be able to see that it is hard, but you can have control. But it's also something where you can appreciate, enjoy like the balance of it all. Because I didn't have that growing up, just like you. I never saw it. So I want to make sure they see it. I create that because this is my selfishness. I want to be like 60, 70 years old and be like, hey, everybody, we're going to go to Italy, and not have to turn to my kids and go like, can you guys get time off? Like, I don't.
Right.
It's selfish. I mean, I don't know what they'll do, but I'm like, I want to enjoy the peace of the family and like the humans that I'm here with as much as I can.
Yeah.
It's a different way of thinking about it. But I don't know. I think you have to go through some crazy to get there at that point. What we didn't go deeper into the book, but I want to a little bit, man. And unpack the book, who it's for, what's the title of it, all that fun stuff. And beyond that, kind of what's the, I guess, if you say there's a message and a purpose, so what's the message and purpose for the book?
Yeah, so the book's called Without a Plan, and it's subtitled A Memoir of Unbound Action and Failing My Way to Success. So I go through the last 20 years of my business career, whether, turning down $700 million offers for businesses to, making a couple million in a couple years at 18, 19, losing it in 4 days. So I give you the good, bad, the ugly, but it's just the truth, right? Like, these are things happened, and this is the how and the why. And I curtail that in with the personal side of what I did through marriage, therapy, understanding trauma, and like unpacking a lot of like my dad and that loss piece. Cause I think that touches everyone. And the overall message is, just get started, right? Just get started in your healing, get started in figuring out who you are, get started in your business idea, ask the girl to marry you, whatever it is, just get started and take a step. It doesn't mean you have to be like me, that you go all in, leave a high paying job on Wall Street and start your own company. I needed to do that because if I had a safety net, it would never have been there. I needed to go out, make $6,000 my first year when my apartment was like $5,000 a month, right? In Chelsea, right? So I needed that motivation of like no safety net to go and drive, but not everyone does that. So get started. We're not promised tomorrow, and that's really, really it. I mean, I learned it from my dad, but we all have been to funerals. We all had loss or seen, accidents and, bad diagnosis and all these things. Like, we're not promised tomorrow. So, really remember that and kind of anchor it in. And then the other big lesson is just turning the lens on how you look at failure. And I try to teach this. I mean, failure is where the learning happens, right? Yeah. And if you can go through and run and embrace that failure, and then, do a triage, autopsy on it, and like diagnose what all happened. There's lessons in there, right? Just don't make the same mistake twice, but change it, right? Because so many people are with failure, and it's largely because what they think people are going to say.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is they don't fucking care about you, right? Of course, your family loves you, but they don't care. Like if, oh my God, oh, Jeremy's deal fell through. Like, Anthony, you may hear that, and then by lunch, you're like, okay, what was that? You mean like, but we think, oh my God. And I saw Anthony 3 weeks later. He's probably thinking, dude, you don't care. We care about ourselves. Yeah. But that's the biggest piece. So that's what I'm saying. Like we get in our own ways because we project what people are going to think. They live their own lives, their own problems, their own challenges. Like this is your piece. So get that fear of phobia, what people think, because it's not real. Into like, okay, how do I go through it? And then just own it. And the quicker you go through and turn off that victim switch of, oh, woe is me, because it's just not productive. You can say, all right, that sucked. That didn't work. How do I go again? How do I go again? So that's the two major points in it.
I like it, man. I'm gonna pick this book up. I'm genuinely gonna pick the book up. I get a lot of books. I just was stacking up like 6 people sent to me. I don't buy books anymore.
Yeah. Are you an Audible guy? Do you read or you? You listen?
So I like to do both, man. If I'm we're gonna take the RV out for the kids to go to their track meet this week. Actually tomorrow, actually. But yeah, I'll pop it in like a headphone in when I'm driving and listen to audiobooks. If you got one of those, send them my way.
Yeah, do the Audible. Okay. Definitely headphones. I was going to make that because I do have some language there. But yeah, listen to it because I people try to get me to narrate the whole book, and I just don't have the patience or the interest to do it. It's like 8 hours, I think. But
it's a lot.
I stole something from Goggins, and same publisher, and what I did exactly what he did. Right? Yeah. I don't know if you listened to his book, but it was read by a professional. And then we did like almost like a little podcast in like 10-15 minutes, like interview. And we just unpacked that chapter. So it's kind of a cool other perspective, almost a behind the scenes thing. So
yeah, I like that.
People like that. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, definitely. Can't Break Me or whatever. Can't Hurt Me. That book, I remember.
Can't Hurt Me. Yeah. And he's got a new one. I haven't read it.
I think there's a couple new ones. I feel like 2 came out. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe there's just one. I can't recall. 100%.
Yeah, I think it's just one. Yeah. But yeah, Can't Hurt Me was crazy, man. He had some crazy dude.
I get it. I get why.
Yeah, dude, he's up there. I love hearing Rogan like do the impressions of him. Like he's hard, man.
Get up, you mother.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Joe. Why do you want to go lay down? Yeah, dude, he's hilarious.
All right, 2 questions. Last 2 questions. One, where can I send people to get the book to get more of you? Where would I put them?
Yeah, so I'm Jeremy S. Delk on all socials. JeremyDelk.com. You can get the book. Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Audible, really any retailer you go to has the book. Okay. And check it out. And tell me your feedback. And again, I don't want to discount the business. There's a lot of good business lessons of like knowing, we didn't get into all those things about, once you think you're the smartest person in the room, that's when you should get worried, right? Because something's going to happen. Like, so just having that level of humility, you forget it when you have a little bit of success. Stay humble, man, and stay curious and stay asking questions because you can always learn. The day you stop learning is the day you die. Yeah. And I firmly believe that. And if you can just, hold on to that. But yeah, I think I don't want to discount the business lessons because there's some good stuff there, but I just want to help people kind of get through some stuff that sucks because we all deal with them. And I'm not special. Yeah. But having something that you can relate to, and unpacking that, sometimes it's scary to look back, but it's important. Can't stay there, but look back, triage, learn some failures, what happened, understand that why, and then make your life better for yourself and your family, the people you love.
I like it, man. I like it's a good transition to the last question. You can take anywhere you want, man. What promise did God or the Creator make to the world when they created you?
Man, some of these guys give like the pre-up question, so you have like a heads up. You give me nothing, so that's cool. Man, I think just to tell a story about the importance of being authentic, right? I think to tell that story and be an example of it's okay to be vulnerable. That was really hard for me, right? For a long time in my life, I was like duck on water. Like I would look stoic and I'd be freaking out, so scared, whatever, because this goes down to my dad. Like I didn't want to have another layer of stress from my mother who's lost a husband. I didn't want her to be having to worry about me. Mm-hmm. So I didn't deal with grief at all for years and years and years. So just that packing in, and it's a time bomb, right? It's going to explode, and it exploded for me. Once you get okay with being vulnerable, seeing, we're both big dudes, whatever, having tears in your eyes when you see these things, like that's hard for some people to see. But once you see that and you can show that level of vulnerability, it lets people know it's okay, right? And lets my kids know I'm okay. I think that that's a piece. And living the life of, hey, this is what it is. I'm a flawed being, as we all are. Come from a place of love. And if you can do those things and just be authentic, vulnerable, and from a place of love, the world will take care of the rest for the most part, man. Right. So I think that's a piece. But it took all the shit I went through to face it, to kind of go through and see it. Right. I'm not this that's prolific guy that, just I was born this way and that's how it is. It's, going through these pains and then having the I guess, guts really to share the wounds. Right.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it. Part of it's for self-care, right? Because you feel good, but then it becomes what you feel like an obligation, right? Because like people see I'm an overnight success, 25 years in the making, 43 years in the making, right? They don't see all the stuff that takes there.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is discouraging for them when they fail and they come through. I'm like, man, ask anyone that's really got it, made it. It's a very windy road, right? So once you let people know that, hopefully it helps them continue to keep on that hard road, that hard journey.
I like that, because they do. That's a big piece of it. It's the front of my microphone is actually like the brand that I have. That's we'll call it a progression forward in my identity work. It's all about the work in the dark. It's called dark work. It's always it's two things. One is the work in the dark that allows you to shine in the light. Right. It's the things you're talking to right now. The unsexy, hard, difficult, ridiculed, misunderstood work. But it also gives me another part of when I step into the light. I call it a dominator's identity, with the mentality of I've done too much work in the dark to lose in the light. So in defining moments, I fight different than everybody else because I know what I did. I'm not about to have it be for nothing. So there's a piece of that. Yeah, man. I enjoyed this conversation. Seriously, I enjoyed hearing your head, your heart. Those of you guys who are tuned in, go check out the book. I'm gonna actually grab the book. I'm gonna listen to it. I'm taking off tomorrow, so I'm gonna have this thing in my ear. I'll let you know how I think, or what I think of it as I listen to it.
Awesome.
Seriously,
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you, seriously, even for being patient and allowing me to get this scheduled for today with my internet taking its hiatus. Those of you guys who are here hanging with us, thank you so much for being part of the episode. If you found something of value, go apply it. That's all I can say. I say it every single episode. I don't know if you do it, but I'm telling you, if you spend some time to listen to this, do something with what you know. The successful humans in our world are the ones that can take information, rapidly translate it to some kind of action, even if small. Then also, if there's someone in your life you know that needs to hear this message, share it with them, because you never know what little simple nugget that Jeremy can put in their ear that changes their entire life. But you can be the catalyst to that. So go do that. Outside of that, as always, make the most of your awe shift moments so you can make shift happen. It's Anthony Trucks and Jeremy Delk signing off. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Awe Shift podcast. I pray that we gave something amazing to your life. And if you found this episode served you in some way, I would love if you could share it with people you know, people you love, as well as your community, because you never know who needs that simple little seed that can grow into something amazing for their life. And the actual training doesn't stop here. If you want your free copy of the show notes sent to you after every episode so you can get the major points consolidated down, simply go to textanthony.com and message the word notes. Till next time, make shift happen.